Okay. Okay, it says I'm fine now. Good morning. It's June 17th, Friday, June 17th, 2022. My name is Terry Morgan. We are here to practice Wudang Qigong. We have the advanced sets this morning, sets 10 through 18. We are not going to practice all 18. We are going to pay attention today to the idea of pulling up from underneath and pulling down from above. This concept is something that I talked about at length yesterday, and there were several things that I didn't talk about. I'm going to mention them just a little bit today, and we're going to include them in today's practice. As we get started, I'm the warning message over here, and then it's fine now. Alright, as we get started, I want to make a couple of announcements real quick. First is that beginning in July, I will be teaching Bagua Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I'm going to start slowly, and then we'll pick up the pace as we go along with the 8 palm changes. Thursday and Friday will remain Qigong practice. We'll be covering some things similar to what I'm covering today in doing some of the exercises. I'll also be covering a little bit more of the practice methods and how we can use what we're learning elsewhere. It's something that we can develop that has value beyond what we're doing in this particular practice. To that point, excuse me. Try again. Alright, to that is why I have the coffee. Alright, I need to do some housekeeping. The literal housekeeping stuff, alright? To that point, as far as what I'm teaching and what I'm going to be presenting, Bagua, Qigong, some of the different elements of practice. I talked about this extensively yesterday, that there are so very many opportunities to distort this little bitty tiny part of information that we have that's accessible in English out of this very much larger archive of information that's available in Chinese. The difference, there's no comparison. That issue is pervasive. And I'm going to keep talking about it, I am. The point that I'm getting to, and this is what you look at in your own practice. As we go through these different things, and you say, oh, well, she's talking about Qi. What's Qi? I talked about that a lot yesterday. What is this other? What am I supposed to pay attention to? How do I learn what that is? On my toes. How do I learn what that is? What might I put into my practice? We're going to do some of that today. That will advance my level, that will advance my study. That's why you're here, right? That idea, what might I do? You have to try and feel it. There's no other way. I'm going to put the coffee down so I don't spill it. If I say, and we're going to do this right now. If I say feet flat on the floor, about shoulder width apart, you put your feet flat on the floor. You're not trying to go up here. Just flat there, about shoulder width apart, give or take. All right, I could be a little closer, I could be a little wider, but more or less my shoulders, my feet. All right, that's how you measure your own shoulders, your own feet. You don't measure on my feet, my shoulders. It's your feet and your shoulders. Now, I could tell you, your feet should be about this much apart. And I could go get, where's my ruler? I got a ruler over here. I used to have a ruler in the room here someplace. There it is. Okay, this is in inches. This is 18 inches. A little bit wider than my shoulders. Right? So if I say your feet should be 18 inches apart, that would be great for somebody who's a little bit taller and a little bit bigger than me. Wouldn't be good for me. And I don't carry a ruler around. I don't. How can I measure? My shoulders, my feet. My hips are in the middle. Nice, even alignment. Not this, not this. Nice, even alignment. In that, what you don't see, what's not visible, the upper, lower, connecting to what's not visible. Toes grip the ground just a little bit. Pull up through the ball of the foot. Sink it and pull it up. Sink goes down and pull up goes, yeah. Think about, you want to water the garden. You attach a hose and you want to turn you got a handle, the sprayer thing that you put on a hose. You want to turn on the hose and you want to be able to squeeze that handle. When you get over to the flower bed, you don't want to squeeze the handle to water the driveway, right? That water hose, water flows through, chi flows through the body. That toes grip the ground just a little bit. As you drop, the ball of the foot to sink and set, connecting below, right here. If these are my toes, this is what I'm talking about right here. It's called the Yongchuan, the bubbling well. Set. When you hook your toes, this part of the foot sets down, and set the heel as well. Jiao through the root, again, the root of the heel. Set both of those, pull up through the arch of the heel, and pay attention to the circulation. Excuse me. Pay attention to the circulation through the bubbling well, the Yongchuan, in the ball of the foot. Knees are bent just a little bit. You can't see it. You can't see it. It's not straight. If I straighten, stiffen, you can see it. It's not. These subtle things, and I'm not going to go through all of it today. These subtle things make all the difference in your practice. They are not the outwardly visible things. And in our practice, we work toward letting go of those outward appearances. What does this look like? Now, what does it feel like? This form is very well placed. It's very strong. It's very stiff. There's no energy flowing through it. This form is very soft. It's very relaxed. It's pleasing to look at. It has no energy. There's no internal strength. I can't see anything other than that nice flow. Both are incorrect. We may go through both of those. Too strong, too much, too stiff, too soft. No strength, no visible strength, no energy, limited energy. We may go through both of those as stages in our practice. We don't want to stay there. These subtle things. I've been practicing all the time I'm standing here. And you would have been too if you were in a classroom with me. Just standing. If you can't do that, toes grip the ground, sink both the heel and the ongchuan, pull up, keep the arch of the foot up, well supported through the ankle, pull up through the leg, knee bent just a little bit, pull down through the hip, drop the tailbone. I'm doing all of that. I am. And yes, this is advanced class. If that's not something you can do, it should be on your list of things to learn. It should. This, and I'm going to stop for just a second, this basic practice, this basic, just stand there. That was it. That was all I did. Outwardly. Every one of those small things, every one of those little details in my feet, my lower back, my hips, my knees, the muscles in my legs, the upper leg and the lower leg, the ankle joint, that's how you get to the heel, right? All of that was working. Connect from underneath. The other place that we're going to connect, yeah, and we're getting going. This, I'm going to say this. I talked about this extensively yesterday, and this is a little bit of a follow-on for this week. The idea that it's only movement, breath and movement. That's all Qigong is, just some breath and some movement. No. We pay attention to so many small details as we're learning. I beat up on what you're doing with your feet just now. That open the toes, grip a little bit, drop this, do this, pull up through the heel, set the foot. I practice that over and over. It's become a habit. So when I decide, all right, I'm going to practice and feed about children with the part, hey, right there. I don't have to think about it beyond this is where I need to be. That comes not after, and I'm being realistic here, it doesn't come after years and years and years of practice. Weeks. All right? Some folks take a little bit longer than others, but if you're working on it, if you're trying, and you pay attention to what you're doing, each time you take a step and you decide that you want to be in this position, you can do that. You have to focus on it first. Maybe you do measure it. I've given that as an exercise. Measure your feet. Where's your step? And every time, step to that same spot so that it becomes natural for you. That's the way that you move. That natural movement, the ability to open and use that natural movement is what we're working toward. Feet about shoulder width apart, wheel the toes with the fingers, bend the knees. Basic stretch. Pull up, sink the shoulders, smile. Hand circle to the front. Back around to both sides. Up along the center line. Reach out. Bend the knees. Don't sit back. Roll up. Open the hips. And reach out. Pull in and up. And roll up through the spine. And one more. All the way up. Elbows drop down. Wrists. Hands return to your sides. All right. Yes, I did go slower on that last one. There's a couple of things that I'm talking about today that I was paying attention to very closely this morning in that stretch. One of them is to pull up here. Okay, so here's your hips. Find your hips. Here's my ribs. Here's my hips. Ribs, hips. This space between, waist, we pay attention to that quite a bit, and we're working with that this morning, at that connection between the upper and the lower. All right, ribs, hips. Find the base of your hip right here. Where's your hip? Find where your hip comes to the front. Okay, my hand's right here. This space, that's your leg, that's not your hip. Right. We have a couple of sets of muscles here that pull up into the ribs, in addition to the large and these muscles that cross over. We've also got some muscles that pull across. Okay, little ones. This is what supports your abdomen. All right, it's not just one, and it's not the we're not really going for that six-pack thing, really. That's not the goal. All right, the goal is pull in and up as you sink, so that your body is well supported. Okay, that opens. If you pull up here, pull across, pull across, pull across here. Keep this in. Pull up through the hui. I'm in the lower body here right now, okay? Pull up through the hui. At the same time as you pull up through the yongchuan. Bend the knees just a little bit. Pull up, yay, more. Pull up more, yeah, and pull in. Pull it in, yeah, pull it all in. You squish. All right, this pull in. From inside, pull in. Okay? Don't try and hold your muscles out here and push in. Don't work. Grab from inside and pull in. This is not a mystery technique either. Okay, so just because it's something that I know dancers learn. Anybody who needs to extend and use the small muscles, you have to learn this. There's no other option. All right, so that inside, pull in and pull this to you. All right, lower body. Upper body. Bai Hui at the crown of the head. We want this idea that, and I use this idea, I used this image yesterday, I'm going to use it again today. There are some very nice balloons out here, and they're floating around, and there's some of them are attached to the ceiling here, and I'd like to have one. And so I go, I want that one, and I pull it in. But no, I'd like that one, and I pull it straight in. That idea is what we want to pay attention to through the Bai Hui, this center at the crown of the head. As we connect the upper and the lower, so pull up from underneath, pull down from above. The upper body, shoulders, they don't go up, right? You're not going up. They go down. The ribs, same as with the hips, pull in from underneath. Right here and here. This area through the back is what we want to pay attention to when we're breathing. Not this up here. Diaphragm, muscles through the mid-back. Feet about shoulder width apart. I'm going to turn around. We're going to do this both sides. As we turn, pay attention to this upper pulling down, lower pulling up. We have two places we want to pay attention to: pulling up from below the yongchuan in the feet, the huiyin in the center of the torso, pulling down across the shoulders. Open this, keep the head up, and pull down through the Bai Hui. Feet about shoulder width apart. Breathe in. Breathe out. Pay attention to the upper and the lower. Pull up from underneath. Pull down. From above. Shang shang sha. Sha shang shang. I'll talk about that after a minute. Press down. Pay attention. Connect the upper and the lower. Focus the mind. Pay attention to the breath. Press down, sink, breathe out. Breathe in, and down again. As you sink, pull up. As you rise, press down. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Keep the back straight. Keep the connection between the Bai Hui and the Hui Yin. One pulls up, one pulls down. Sink. And turn. Open through the mid-back. Keep that open, press down. And turn. Two more. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Pull up, pull down, and turn. Stay straight. Last time. Breathe in, press down, center, and come down. Come back to center, hands down along both sides, pull up through the crown of the head, raise the heels and lower. Stay there, breathe in, breathe out. All right, relax for just a minute. We have here, and I was doing some house cleaning that I should have done, and I apparently have some dust bunnies that would like to come out and play. All right. Shang shang sha. Sha shang shang. I'll slow it down. Shang. 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 Sha. Sha. Shang. Shang. In Chinese, All right, this is why this is easy to remember. I've spent a few minutes, and we're going to do one more set this morning. Dragon and tiger joined together, so upper and lower. I've spent quite a bit of time this morning and yesterday on this idea that the upper and lower connect together, that we want to bring this upper and the lower together. And upper what? The upper. And lower what? The lower. Right? Upper and lower. In English, this makes absolutely no sense unless you just paid attention to my class. And the long form explanation. In Chinese, all I have to say, 上上下, 下上上. The upper wants to come down, the upper pull down, the upper bring in, shang towards the bottom. Bring this down, bring this up. If I say it in Chinese, if I say this in Chinese, it makes perfect sense to me. And it's one of the corrections. It's one of the things that I've paid attention to in translations. What? Because some things, and this is why I'm saying this, talked about it yesterday, I'm going to beat up on this a little bit more today. Not too much more. What we have in English is over here. What we have in Chinese is over here. If you don't read Chinese, if you don't understand parts of, it doesn't have to be all of it, you don't, a Chinese language scholar, no, you don't have to. You need to understand enough that's relevant to this practice, right? If you don't understand that breathing and movement are not the goal, they're the entry, they're the way that you get to develop what you're trying to develop, your chi, internal energy. It's the method, not the goal, right? If that concept isn't clear, you're always only going to be focused on doing this thing over here. And you're going to miss all this stuff over here. Right? Over here. This body of knowledge says, breathe and do movement. Breathe and do movement. A little bit more, and there's more. It's not quite that scarce. There is more that's available. By comparison, and the nuance, the clarity that comes from the language and how movement is described, how this internal work is described, opens the door wider for that ability to understand, that ability to say, oh, there's something here that I don't know about yet. I haven't learned that much about this thing here. Whatever she's talking about, I haven't learned that much yet. It's opportunity. If you're never introduced to it, how do you know? If you're never introduced to it, how do you know? Alright. In Dragon and Tiger join together, we want to pay attention to this idea. Pull up from underneath, sink through the leg into the foot, even as this comes up. And keep that through the back as we move through the sets. So as we transfer the weight, set here, and horse stance, riding a horse, not quite that wide, horse, and yeah, I could go lower, but I'm not going to do it right now. Alright, we want to be here as we transfer the weight. That's my hands. My hands are here on purpose. As we transfer the weight. Right? 1, 2. Go this way. Not here. Right? Keep the knee bent just a little bit. Drop the tailbone so that the leg moves freely in the hip. 45-ish, right? If I take my leg out about here, it's about 45 degrees for me. I could bring it up a little bit more. I'm not going to work on that so much today. Pay attention to pulling up from underneath the hui yin and down, shoulders down. This connection between the shoulders and the ribs, pulling down, the hips and the abs, pulling up. And I know my hands don't really give the right idea, but that's the eye. That's it. Anatomy books. If I'm gonna, let me say this a different way. The only way to really understand what I'm talking about is to go look at an anatomy book. And where they've taken the muscle groups apart and you can see inside the human body and you can learn what these muscle groups actually look like. That's the best way. Next, you find each muscle group, you gotta feel it. Practice. Feet about shoulder width apart, stand straight. Dragon and Tiger join together. Pull up from underneath, down from above. Breathe in and breathe out. Shift left and extend. Come back to the center. Turn the toes out just a little bit. Sink through the heel. Drop the tailbone. Pull up. Through the hui yin. Pull down. Through the bai hui. Open the Yong Chuan. Sink the heel. Pull up through the arch of the foot. Keep the knee bent. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe out. Open the mid-back. Hold the hips. Let the leg move. Keep going. Two more. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. And breathe out. Let the breath flow with the movement. And come to center. Palms up. Press down along both sides. Pull up through the crown of the head. Raise the heels and lower. Stay there. Breathe in. Breathe out. And breathe in. Breathe out. Alright. I'm going to stop with this for today. We paid attention to this idea of pulling from below and pulling from above, pulling down from above, pulling up from below. Right? Shang, shang sha, sha, shang shang. This idea, yin and yang, the connections through the body, placement, position, keeping the knee bent, dropping the tailbone, keeping the gates and the centers, upper tantian, middle tantian, lower tantian, keeping the centers open so that the energy inside, Jing, and the Qi, breath, inner breath, can flow through the small heavenly circle as we move. This idea is common knowledge, pervasive in Chinese literature on the subject of Qigong. Pervasive. Not always presented the same in English. And the simplicity, xia shang xia, and the easy way to remember it, the xia shang xia, it's that sound, sha, 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 is easy to remember in Chinese. The tradition that goes back thousands of years, we have to kind of think about, did they want people to remember? Some things that we need to learn, that we need to understand, which I went way deep into today and yesterday about practice, are not nearly as accessible in English. Above sinks down. Above goes down. Above toward down. Above to down. Upper goes down. Not really a very good. What's she saying? Shang shang sha. Upper towards down, or up or to down, in the direction of. Well, that's another explanation. Right, it is. That's my point. The skill that we want to develop depends on understanding what we're trying to do, right? Trying to do it, and paying attention to what we're doing. How does it feel? What does it, did I feel off balance? Did I, what, I shifted over too much, I went too far that way. Oh, nope, leaning back. How did it feel? Oh, now that felt pretty good. How does it feel? The more we can find time to practice that is free of distractions, that we can not really close our eyes, but that we can feel our way through that practice, the more we get in touch with what that is, what is that feeling? What's it feel like when I'm correct, when I'm connected? What does that feel like? Solid? Flexible? Right? That should. 2 words that go with. Could be more. There's actually a lot more. What applies to your feeling? And when you hit that point, when you're there, what's it feel like? This standing practice that I've been doing, this whole class, standing practice, is one of the most basic things that we do in our practice. And if we're paying attention to circulating the inner breath, the inner energy, and trying to develop those inner connections, it is also one of the most advanced and most difficult things to do. It is. Just stand there. Don't do anything else. Just stand there. 2 minutes. Seriously, it's a long time. Takes practice. I will be back next week. Yes, I was. I will be back next week with Xingyi, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. We are finishing the Xingyi form this month. Beginning of July, I am going to start Bagua. And I mentioned this at the beginning of class. I'm going to start slowly. I have a couple of things that I need to some technology things that I need to get sorted out, and some other things I need to get sorted out. So we're going to start slowly. We will start. Qigong will continue on Thursday and Friday. There will be a little bit more of this how to practice, a little more depth in some of the advanced class. It takes some explanation. There will also be some additional physical practice that we'll be doing. I'm looking at quite a few things. I appreciate that all of you have been here with me. I hope you will join me again next week. Thank you so much for being here.